everybody. Welcome to another edition of Inside the Vinyl. I'm your host, Tim Bianconi. If you would, go ahead and like, comment, share, and subscribe to my channel below. That would be appreciated. If you could also hit that notification bell so you can be notified anytime we put out new content, that would be appreciated also. So I'm going back to the well again with the band Kiss, but this time it's for the purpose of a lost classic, and I want to talk about their 1985 album, Asylum. Look at that amazing cover. So this album was released on September 16th, 1985. It was recorded between June and July of 1985, released on the label Mercury through Polygram. It reached as high as number 20 on the Billboard charts and has been certified gold for shipments of over 500,000. Now you might be wondering, well, it's sold 500,000 copies. Why is it a lost classic? Well, you know, a lot of the non-makeup era of Kiss gets maligned, for various reasons. And, I will admit some of it's kind of hit or miss, but a lot of the music from that era is actually very good. They were very successful during that time, more so than they're given credit for. And some of those albums are highly underrated. Now, I can certainly understand if somebody looks at the cover of this album and wants nothing to do with it, especially if you're not really into glam metal or 80s hair metal or anything. I totally get it. However, looks can be deceiving. You can't always judge a book, or in this case, a record, by its cover. So this album was produced by produced by Paul Stanley and Gene Simmons. However, I feel it was probably more Paul Stanley than Gene Simmons. So let's go ahead and take a look at this. So this is not an original issue of Asylum. This is part of the 2014 vinyl reissues that they had. However, I do see this album quite a bit in used record stores, so it's probably not that hard to find, and you could probably get it for way less money than what I spent on this. But be that as it may, I am still pretty stoked about this. So, okay, here's the front cover, and then here's the back cover. That makes it look even worse, with the track listing and all that. So let's go ahead and take a look and see what we have inside. So let's go ahead and pull out the inner sleeve. So again, if you're not a fan of hair metal or 80s Kiss, the visuals on this album aren't going to do you a lot of favors. But again, here's the inner sleeve with some photos of, I think it's Paul Stanley and Eric Carr on that side with some lyrics. And then on the other side, more lyrics and photos of Gene Simmons and Bruce Kulick. So if we pull out the record, again, nothing too special here, just 180 gram vinyl. With a standard 80s Mercury sticker in the middle. So there's side one, and there's side two. And I'll be honest with you, on a lot of these Kiss reissues, I'm surprised they didn't do more, especially as visual as this band is. I'm surprised there wasn't more done, with like the records themselves, as far as maybe some splatter vinyl or, maybe some different stickers in the middle or whatever. But I don't know, maybe they just wanted to keep these as close to the original pressings as possible. But anyway, there you have it. That's the ins and outs of the Asylum vinyl 2014 reissue. So this was the first full album with guitar player Bruce Kulick, and by this point, I think he was their fourth guitar player, and probably fourth guitar player in as many years. Between 82, Ace Frehley left, and then Vinnie Vincent came in for a year or two. Then he left, and he was replaced by a guy named Mark St. John, who played most of the album before this, and then he had some health issues and was then replaced by Bruce Kulick, who remained with the band for the next, 11 years or so. The reviews, like I said, reviews for this album are mixed, as most of the non-makeup albums have been. However, sometimes when I read those reviews, I wonder if they even listened to the record or if they just looked at the cover and just thought, oh, this album sucks. Like I said, this was the first album with Bruce Kulick, who is an amazing guitar player. And in my opinion, as far as actual guitar playing skills, he's the most proficient, whatever the word, virtuoso guitar player of any of the ones they had, even better in my opinion than Vincent or Mark St. John. Just a great guitar player. So the cover itself, is extremely glammy. But one thing that's kind of interesting about the album cover, though, is that if you look at their lips, each set of lips has a different color, and those colors are reminiscent of the colors of the four different members on the 1978 solo records. So even though you know, we have Eric Carr and Bruce Kulick in here on guitar and drums. Their lips are still colored the same way that Aces and Peters were in 1978. So I always thought that was kind of interesting. But to me, again, an extremely underrated album. As far as their non-makeup era, it's one of my favorites. I just think it just rocks. It's just an album that just rocks. The singles from the album, the main single is a song called Tears Are Falling. Got a lot of airplay on MTV. I'm not sure it charted super high, but I don't know how much you can really trust the Billboard singles charts in the 80s. Because the song was a huge hit on MTV and their chart, you know, their video chart shows and everything. There's a couple other videos for songs, Who Wants to Be Lonely and All Night. Now, again, if you think the album cover's bad, go watch those videos if you want to see Kiss trying to do everything that the other 80s bands were doing times 10. You know, and unfortunately for them, musically, I think they were still great. But I think in the 80s, what they started doing is instead of being leaders of the rock community, they started being followers of the rock community, which they eventually kind of worked themselves out of. But other highlights on this record, the opening track, King of the Mountain. I mean, it just starts off with, you know, a little bit of drumming from Eric Carr, and then just goes into a, you know, pretty ripping song. Any way you slice it. Now, Gene Simmons, who was like half checked out of the band at this point in time because he was doing movies and producing other bands and all this other shit, not really focused on Kiss that much. He put forth some pretty decent songs on this record. Any Way You Slice It's one of my favorite tunes on here. Trial by Fire is just a great song. I mean, just probably one of the best, just, you know, pure, you know, well-written Gene Simmons songs, you know, in the entire Kiss catalog. And Secretly Cruel, you know, so he has three, you know, really great songs on this album. But again, like I said, you know, there were issues going on, you know, they were following more than leading the pack. Gene was barely involved in some cases. That's why I said it says it's produced by Paul and Gene, but I'm sure it was more Paul than Gene at that point. But again, great record. Don't let the cover fool you. This is a fantastic album and definitely qualifies to me as a lost classic that I think every Kiss fan and even every 80s rock fan should hear. So that's all I've got for you this time. Like, comment, share, and subscribe to my channel below. Hit that notification bell. I've got other things on my channel. I've got the rest of my Inside the Vinyl series where we talk about lost classics, live albums, and we unbox a lot of stuff. I've got some live coverage from some concerts and festivals over the last few years. And I've even got some mediocre disc golf coverage starring some very mediocre players, myself included. So like, comment, share, and subscribe, and we'll see you next time. Peace out. There you go, boy.